that number is.
important
We've
for the industry to
conservatively, I think,
build
put
out
it at
specific
somewhere between 25 to 35 billion. I think any one of those three industries, whether it's pharma, whether it's medtech, whether it's auto, could actually blow past that number individually. And the last opportunity, I would say, never forget our own country. Right? India is a sizable force today as a technology buyer. And if you think about every one of those opportunities on our own stacks, that's enormous. So 5 opportunities. If you go to the next page, we'd say this very simply. We still can't get to the 3x in 10 years, but we think we can at least get halfway there. We can see line of sight to get halfway there. And how does that stack up? Those 5 opportunities that I went through, the biggest one is the first one. We have to reinvent where we sit today. If we continue to expect that we can actually deploy the same T&M model, the same workforce, doing the same things, that ground is going to shift under our feet very quickly. The one danger from this industry or this change in technology is that the adoption rate of this technology is one of the highest we have ever seen. So if we move faster, at least we can double this industry once again in the next 10 years, if not triple it. Maybe with that, I'll invite Sangeeta to come and share a few of the recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, honorable dignitaries on stage and all the attendees here. It's been a pleasure to partner with NITI Aayog and the McKinsey team to put together this paper. I think like Debjani said, the current environment feels a lot like gloom and doom, everybody predicting another time the death of this sector. But I think as people who are very closely involved with the industry, see our members every day, I think we are very optimistic that this sector will reinvent itself. It is already reinventing itself. So it's not something that people are waiting for a change to happen. That change is already there. I'll just build quickly on 2 slides, which is really what are some of our key recommendations that we are looking at from an industry lens, because a lot of this change actually has to come from the industry. The government's actually already done a lot of work, so our focus is to say, what is it that industry will need to do? I think one is we've identified high growth spots for this industry. So it's not just about financial services or healthcare. I think the report identifies almost 50 plus areas where we have an opportunity to grow. Nosha showed a few of them. But I think it'll be important for the industry to build out specific offerings to be able to build for those growth sets. So if you're going to be the cybersecurity services leader for global enterprise, how will you support the defense sector? How will you do semiconductor services? How will you look at new markets? Not necessarily new markets, but under-tapped markets. What's happening in Japan? Middle East has been a strong focus for us, but the size and contribution of these sectors is still very, very low. I think we've heard a lot about the delivery and commercial models, the shift from a time and material model to an output-based model. I think it's already happening. It's moved from T&M to a fixed price model. And I think increasingly, as we are talking to the industry, there's a lot of focus on outcome-based models. I think IP is really the next frontier for us. We see parts of the industry, particularly companies that are in the engineering R&D space, that are doing a lot more focus on building out IP from India and a lot of the GCCs also. But I think we need much more stronger focus on productized revenue, productized services, and not just FTE-linked services that we've done in the past. The whole shift of workforce is very, very important. We've been a country that's really been the talent hub for the world. And it will be important for us to see how do we rapidly upskill our talent for this AI world. I think from our data, it shows the industry's already upskilled 1 million plus people. But this is a continuous journey. It's not a one-time effort that you do it and forget it. I think we have to, learnability as a skill is really an imperative for us. Of course, the importance of driving cultural change for AI adoption, especially as we're looking at the India market. You cannot just go and talk technology. You have to drive change management. You will have to determine what is the return on investment that you're asking enterprises to do and make that more real for companies as we move forward. And of course, accelerated M&A and partnerships. I think just in 2025, if we see the last 3 quarters, there's been a 3x increase in M&A compared to the past 5 years. So you've already started seeing some winds of change. This needs to be much faster. And as Naushad said, we cannot take it for granted, but I think it's happening. And I think that really will be the focus for us. If we can move to the next slide, which is really a few quick recommendations from a government perspective. I think I want to start with thanking the government for the current budget, especially the recommendation around the change around safe harbor for global capability centers and multinational companies that are operating in India. The 15.5% safe harbor at a level of 2,000 crore companies has provided a huge benefit for companies, right? Today, there's so much certainty on taxation in India. It's a globally competitive rate. And we believe that this will accelerate the whole GCC gold rush that we have been seeing to much, much greater strength as we do. There's been interesting announcements around data centers as a service. I think that's another big push that we will see happening. We've already seen a lot of announcement of investments by the big tech companies in India, and clarity on taxation, including support for domestic data centers, will drive greater focus there. So I think the three quick recommendations, one, DPIIT already has this aspirational national single window system. We're just recommending that can it be more integrated end to end across not just central laws, state laws, and leverage an API-based network to make it happen, right? It doesn't exist. Expand. Create a focus, especially for tech services, sir, because tech services does not require a lot of approvals that they have to do currently. Unlike the manufacturing sector, can you make it far easier for the tech services industry to completely set up and start up in India? I think secondly, today in our sector, we are seeing a lot of differentiated growth. Many of the mid-sized companies are doing very well. Many of the AI-first companies are doing very well. And how can we launch much more structured trade services missions for these sets of companies, especially in markets that we have not addressed in the past, including Japan, Middle East, Germany, other parts of continental Europe? And the last recommendation is around a whole unified AI skilling mission. This was work we had done earlier with NITI, the Frontier Tech Hub, where we had recommended a talent mission that will look at upskilling of the technology workforce. The current budget has announced a high-level task force for education to employment to enterprise. We believe that a focus on that from making a whole of government approach on AI skilling will be very, very important for realizing the vision that we've just articulated. And lastly, we need a national workforce transition framework. The changes are out there. Nobody really has exact understanding of what it will pan out with. But if we can build different scenarios and prepare industry, students, and other stakeholders, it'll be very helpful to us to navigate this journey. So I think just to conclude, I'll just say that this is a pivotal phase for this industry. It's a journey that we have to make sure we get right. And that will require us to make sure we do all the recommendations and much more to be able to stay ahead of this and not stay the world's back office, but become the AI native architect. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you everyone for that insightful presentation. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, may I now request the Honorable Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal, and dignitaries on the dais to formally launch the roadmap. I also request members of the expert panel, Mr. Naushir, Ms. Sangeeta, to join us. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you can now access the roadmap from the QR code on the screen. It is now live. Moving on, every roadmap developed by NITI Frontier Tech Hub is prepared in extensive consultation with stakeholders, industry, startups, and academia. We are thankful to the industry leaders for being here today in such large numbers. We have a few inputs on the recommendations of the roadmap from the industry. In the interest of time, I would request everyone to restrict to 2 minutes each. May I request Mr. Rajesh Nambiar, President NASSCOM, to kindly give out his views.
First of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to say something here. First of all, thank you, Minister, for several things, but I think we'll start with the fact that, both on the EU trade agreement as well as what we had with the US initial trade agreement, which will eventually lead to a BTA, phenomenal response, and we were the first association to actually sort of land up in the US last week after the US trade agreement was there, and then as you would have seen from yesterday's discussion with our team, I think great response, not just from the industry association, but we also had a chance to go and meet the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, great positioning of where this will lead to. So first of all, I want to thank you for doing all of that. One of the topics which you also put as a recommendation was to launch this structured trade services mission. So I thought something which NASSCOM has been sort of at it for a while in terms of understanding truly how global our industry is. We begin to have truly representation across the world. So for instance, in the US, we have created something called a US CEO Forum, which is very active. We've had the third meeting in the last 1 year with getting the group of CEOs who are present for our industry, but in the US. We get them together to sort of have common issues sorted out, and then of course the representation